Live from Lhasa, this is a special broadcast of China 24 Inside Tibet. Well, throughout the week, we will bring you up close to Tibet and tell you the stories of Everest Tibetans. Well, on Wednesday morning, Lhasa hosted a bicycle race through the ancient city and its surrounding mountains. As a new activity during the annual Shantung Festival, this race hopes to promote green transport in the city. And our reporter Ai Yang, who was at the race, brings us the story.
Cyclists from in and around Lhasa have gathered in Tibet's capital to race for the environment. It was the debut of an event that will coincide with the annual Shantung Festival. Organizers say it's the first time Lhasa is trying to promote green transport.
There are many sports events from home and abroad that focus on green transport, but this is a first for Lhasa. As the city becomes more developed, such events will be more necessary.
I think in recent years, Lhasa's development has gotten better, and there are more trees around the city. I'm glad there is a cycling event for the environment.
116 participants, men and women, young and old, took off near the city government building to begin their 9.5-kilometer journey towards the outskirts of Lhasa and up the mountains. It's a rare treat for the eye to cycle around such great scenery, but going up mountains at more than 3,600 meters above sea level demands a lot more strength than many expected. At 29 minutes and 24 seconds, 26-year-old Wei Gui crossed the finish line.
I was breathing so much even before my legs started to get sore. The scenery here is different from the inland, but it's so beautiful.
Racing at these altitudes is a lot more tiring than racing close to sea level. But here in Tibet, it has its rewards too. The beauty of the land is more than many can hope to see elsewhere. Organizers hope the event will also raise environmental awareness, giving a fighting chance to Tibet's natural beauty to be preserved. Ai Yang, CCTV, Lhasa.
And I can assure you it's not an easy job to bike in Tibet. And now we turn to the highest national reserve in the world, the Mount Chumalama National Nature Reserve. Well, that reserve is located in southern Tibet Autonomous Region, near the border between China and Nepal. It spans an area about 3.5 million hectares. Standing at a height of more than 4,000 meters, the reserve is home to 4 of the world's 6 highest mountains, including the world's highest peak, that's Mount Chumalama, also known as the Everest. The reserve protects extremely rare alpine ecosystems and plateau landscapes and is a preserve of Tibetan culture. There are over 80,000 inhabitants there, and the people live alongside a diverse spectrum of animals and plants. At 4,500 meters above sea level, the world's highest temple, Rungbu Monastery, is also located there. Well, glaciers in Mount Chumalama is melting faster, bearing mountains and raising water level downstream. While global warming could be an arguable cause, increased human activities is believed to be a contributing factor. Our reporter Zhang Nini has traveled to Mount Chumalama and has brought us this report on what has been done.
The highest point on Earth. For decades, Mount Chumalama has inspired humanity and its desire to always reach for the top. Hundreds set their footprints along the north slope, with thousands more leaving their mark down here. To understand the impacts of climate change, one must travel to Rongbuk Monastery, 10 kilometers away from the base camp and by the Rongbuk River. Experts have noticed the rising snow line and retreating glaciers in recent years. One of the clear indicators is the Rongbuk River at the foot of the Mount Chumalama. Not only water level is rising, the river also gets polluted. Having been here for over 30 years, Nagwan Gongak points out the changes he's seen.
When I first came here in the 1970s, a lot more mountains were covered in ice and snow. Now I can only see the snow on some peaks. The rest of the slopes are yellow and black crags.
Recent studies shows that glaciers on Tibetan Plateau have receded by at least 6,600 square kilometers in the past 4 decades. Glaciers are retreating the fastest in the area around Mount Chomolungma at annual rates of 10 to 15 meters. Increasing water levels are one of the short-term effects, but in the long run, the source of many rivers will dry up as ice and snow reserves begin to thin out. Lapkat Seren believes 2 factors are causing this.
I think global warming and the surge in tourist numbers are causing the snow to melt faster. Before, there were only 1,000 tourists a year. Now it's 1,000 every day.
The increasing numbers of tourists have put a strain on the natural environment, leaving behind garbage, which on some days could be 60 truckloads. China launched a campaign to clean up the area in 2009, forbidding private vehicles from driving directly to the base camp. But as more tourists keep pouring in, it's going to be a long-term mission.
We have installed several garbage bins downhill, and all garbage below 6,500 is transported on yachts. We have also bought private vehicles and are using 4 eco-friendly buses.
On top of the practical measures, Seren says what is truly needed is a mindset among tourists that respects nature with a sense of environmental responsibility. Zhang Nini, CCTV, at Mount Chomolungma Base Camp.
And Nini joins me here in the studio to talk more about Mount Everest and the pressing problems, especially environmental issues she had witnessed over there. Well, Nini, good evening. Well, 60 years ago, there were few people who have ever been traveling to Mount Chomolungma. And now there is mountaineers and also tourists. Some say that the human activities have a huge impact on the environment, even the climate there. What is your observation?
Well, yes, indeed. Many scientists believe that the world's highest plateau is suffering from the effects of the climate change. They say that the average rise in temperatures in the Himalayas is actually 3 times than in other places. And the rising temperatures means that the glaciers are melting faster, which has a direct impact on the 5 million Tibetans living at the foothill. And some have even begun to complain in recent years about the poor water quality downstream, and some rivers and creeks even dried up. You know, we used to call Tibet the snowy plateau, but in recent years, there has been significantly less snow and ice reserves. And human activities also taken its toll. According to the statistics of the Tingri County, where Mount Chomolungma is located, last year alone, there are 73,000 tourists visiting the Chomolungma Natural Reserve. And of course, these tourists have left their garbages, which tainted the natural environment. So, and of course, there's garbage problem up in the mountain. So I think really it's everyone's responsibility, the mountaineers, the trekkers, and tourists, to protect the environment.
Well, to turn things around, I know there are several environmental programs carried out at the Chomolungma Nature Reserve. Tell us more on that.
Well, one important program is the Pandaba program, and in case people who are not familiar with the term, Pandaba is Tibetan for people who benefit the village. And this program was introduced about 20 years ago, and it started with very few people. But as the training program rolled out, there are around 1,000 Pandabas working throughout the autonomous region, and they train the local villagers in the basics of healthcare. They introduce programs to increase their income, and also they teach them to respect nature. And of course, the environmental protection is a very important topic, because the harsh climate conditions on the high plateau means that local people face constant challenges. So they tend to rely on natural resources for answers. So the need for a sustainable solution is very important. And here is a specific example. Grasslands are diminishing on the high plateau. Surrounding the craggy, bare mountains should be lush, sprawling greenery. It's now patchy at best. The high altitude means the grass will take years to grow back. 56-year-old Duoji herds 200 sheep. He used to build a pen with grass, which were prone to collapse in stormy weather. Now local Pandabas have helped him understand the value of preserving the land.
I wasn't aware of the environmental cost before. They told me that if carry on using the grass, there will be none left for my sons and grandsons. So I took their advice, and it's turned out to be much better.
Local herders used to dig patches of grass to build the sheep pen, which only lasts a year and at great cost of the environment. Now, with the help of Pandoba, they begin to use stone and clay, which is more stable and endurable. In return for his actions, Dorji was given a television. He's not the only one who benefited. Since August last year, more than 60 sheep pens have been rebuilt in 5 administrative villages across Tingri County. Their new homes will last for decades.
I was trained by Pandoba Society to instruct villagers on building new sheep pens. We have another 19 pens to renovate this year.
The Pandoba program was initiated in 1994 in the Chomolungma National Nature Preserve. The program has since trained a network of more than 300 Pandobas. In 1998, the training model was deemed by the UN as one of the 50 most effective development programs for poor people in the world.
Our philosophy is to balance protection and development. We do not give cash rewards. We motivate the villagers to help themselves. We engage the villagers in the process so that they will begin to share our vision of a sustainable and prosperous preserve.
Basang says the society aims to expand to other areas in the autonomous region. By imparting skills and knowledge, he hopes more villagers will stand on their own and that fragile nature will no longer be the victim. So when a household participates in the Pandoba program, they're also given a award acknowledging their efforts to protect the environment. And so in this way, they're motivated to participate in even more programs. So hopefully this will help spread the program throughout the communities in Tibet.
Obviously, those incentives are working. Thank you, Nini, for your reporting. And for more insight on that issue, we're joined live by Mr. Yang Fuqiang, Senior Advisor on Climate Change, Energy and Environment at the Natural Resources Defense Council. Well, good evening, Mr. Yang. Well, we know Tibet is usually considered a pristine land, but we have seen increasing human activities over the past 60 years. So what has been the impact on the region's natural environment?
Human activities have a strong impact on the environment. We all understand Tibet is one of the most vulnerable areas in the world. And so environment quality and ecological system was degraded. We all know that Tibet is a very poor area before, and the Tibetan people is keen to have a better life. So the population after 60 years have increased a couple of times. So they need more food, and they need house, and need more products for their life. So we can see, although the local government have established a very strong regulation to protect environment. However, in the Tibet, we can see some overdevelopment in the husbandry sector, also deforestation, desertification, and also happen the river level is a decline. And they develop some industry sector, have developed a tourist region, but is overcrowded, and they use the energy also pollute the environment. So the local government now they learn from these mistakes and lessons, and adopt most strict regulation to protect the environment. I have been Tibet.
Mr. Yang. Yeah,
yes.
Mr. Yang, as you said, the Tibetans need a better life. It could be a dilemma for them to develop or not to develop. That is the question facing many natural areas. Sometimes it is inevitable for economic development to come at the expense of environmental damage. So do you think it is the pain worth the gain?
I think sustainability, sustainable development is a key, is a critical for the Tibet. We have to put the environment protection and ecological system and first. And under this limitation, we can see how can we develop a local economy. And for instance, and for the energy and to support industry and agricultural development. But what kind of energy we use? So in Tibet, we can see they use most is solar PV, solar hot water, solar cooker, and also thermal hydropower. And in the Tibet, we can see they have a high electricity transmission line, so they don't allow to build a coal-fired power plant. They build a natural gas-fired power plant. So that is keep the air quality pretty good. I have been to Tibet, and I can see air quality there is blue sky, green water, and that is very enjoyable.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yang. And stay on the line. We have more questions on global warming later on in the broadcast. While the Tibetan Autonomous Region enjoys one of the best climates in the country with an annual variety of sunshine and showers, but rising global temperatures have brought mixed consequences for the region's environment. Yang, tell us why.
Yamjok Yamsol is 4,000 meters above sea level. The Holy Lake in Tibet's Shannan Prefecture is the biggest inland lake north of the Himalayas.
The scenery is really pretty and is surrounded by mountains. It's a very mysterious place.
The area has actually gone greener in recent years. Good news for both tourists and local people. This man lives in a village at the foot of the mountains. He's seen the climate change over the years.
The weather has become much better for us. It rains a lot more, so it's good for the lake, and it's good for the crops too.
Farming at high altitude is difficult and produces less yield, but just a few extra days of warm weather can make a big difference to the harvest. But along with the benefits are some negative effects. Just 2 hours' drive from the Holy Lake lies the Corolla Glacier in the northern Himalayas. It used to reach the edge of the highway. In the 1990s, people could get a close view from their cars.
Global warming, including human activities in recent years, have accelerated the melting of the glacier. In the past, the glacier used to reach down all the way to the other side of the road. But now people can only look up and try to remember its beauty before it all melts away.
According to official data, in the past 50 years, Tibet's temperatures have risen by 0.3 degrees every decade. That's about 4 times faster than the global average. Increasing numbers of tourists and vehicle emissions have also tainted the White Glacier, exposing the mountains at a never faster rate.
Sigaza Prefecture is home to the Himalayas. Glacier melting is a big problem, but it's caused by global warming, and we're limited in what we can do. In future, we will control tourism better and reduce human influence on nature.
So, while global warming may have benefited some, its damage is clear. Human activity is driving the process, and turning things around is going to be a slow and difficult process. Yang, CCTV, Sigazi Prefecture, Tibet.
And now let's talk to Mr. Yang Fuqiang from Natural Resources Defense Council again. Well, Mr. Yang, some blame global warming for the melting of the Himalayan glaciers and even extreme weathers that have caused the flooding and landslides in China and India. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Global warming become real, and we can see so far the global temperature increased 0.87 degree, and also a transportation sector and power plant emit a lot of we call the black carbon, which can accelerate the melting of the glacier and cryospheres. So in this case, we understanding is that Tibet provides water resources, and also many rivers come from Tibet. That is provide water supply for 2.7 billion people in Asia. So we can see the glacier is melting is very severe. I have been to Tibet. I have visited a couple of glacier areas, and that is they withdraw several hundred meters away only for 10 years. So I think in the Tibet they have hold many meetings and to discuss how locally what kind of measure and policy they can cope with the climate change.
Well, this should be an alarming question for all of us. Thank you very much, Mr. Yang, for your analysis. Well, the mysterious Tibetan plateau houses countless treasures, but nothing is more lucrative than a very special kind of fungus called caterpillar fungus. The staggering surge in its prices over the past decades has spurred many Tibetans to join the gold rush. Experts say this poses a huge risk to the vulnerable environment of Tibet. Han Peng has more.
This oddly shaped small fungus is worth 3 times the price of gold. And all of a sudden, many Tibetans who've been ordinary herdsmen for generations find themselves sitting on a gold mine. The price is so high and so sensitive that traders bargain secretly under the hat. 1 bag of the fungus in exchange for 1 bag of RMB cash. That's over 100,000 yuan per kilo. For 10 years, Tsiren Doji has been harvesting the fungus and selling it in local trading center. Today he's become a millionaire, buying villas in Lhasa, sending his children abroad, and paying others to do the village chores.
The fungus has existed on the plateau for thousands of years, and no one really cared. But 20 years ago, people in eastern China suddenly began to believe that it could be used as a medicine to cure cancer and boost sexual performance. The prices have only soared since then by a factor of thousands.
At his home, the safe case is as high as the refrigerator, fully loaded with cash and fungus. Millions of yuan worth is enough for him to buy 2 more villas in Lhasa. The caterpillar fungus has become a cash cow for Tibetans. This small trading center alone could produce a staggering revenue of 3.5 billion yuan each year. However, behind the booming market is a real concern of an environmental disaster on the Tibetan plateau. Almost all herdsmen near the harvesting site have joined this fungal gold rush. To ensure the precious fungus is not broken, they use shovels to dig the small fungus out of the earth. The earth has been left open, grass uprooted, and at such a high altitude, it takes years for plants to grow back. With the intensive harvesting, reports show that some areas have been picked almost empty. This has also sparked violent conflicts over territory, occasionally fatal.
The ecological system of the Tibetan plateau is very vulnerable. Any damage to the system can cause irreversible consequences. So we sent a special team to ensure harvesters recover the area they disturbed with grass to make sure the fungus there spores in the following year. And we ask harvesters to stop picking until the fungi reach maturity.
It's easy and quick money versus a potential environmental calamity. Is it a blessing or a curse? For millions of Tibetans, the market craze for the fungi is reshaping their life and landscape. Han Peng, CCTV, Nachi, Tibet.
And from Lhasa, this is our special coverage of Tibet for today. And join us again tomorrow when we will tell you more stories of average Tibetans here on the plateau, this time the Pinsoks and Chimes. And I'm Zoe in Lhasa. Now back to you, Dongning, in Beijing.
Thank you very much, Zoe, for the wonderful coverage of the environment in Tibet and its protection. And we hope to see the world's highest piece of land remains to be pure and clean as ever.